Hey, welcome to today's lesson on variables and how they're used in programming. Along the way, we'll learn to declare them and output them to the screen. So let me transition to something I made for you to explain variables a little better. So what are variables? Variables in programming are used to store information. Also, you'll find that they identify the type of data, whether it's a number or a letter or a list of characters. It identifies the type of data stored. Variables can be used in calculations or in processing and may be changed or declared at the start to be fixed using the keyword final. So how are they declared? There's four elements to a variable declaration. The first begins the data type, in this case, indicating that it will store a whole number or an integer, same as in math. The name of the variable, or in a fancy way of describing it, the identifier. Typically, a variable will have an assignment made to it when it is declared, using the equal sign, which is not the equal sign of math fame. It is quite literally that the value, in this case 5, is being assigned to x. A little bit more on it is that when you declare a variable, you're allocating memory. And in the old days, you used to have to very explicitly do that by keeping track of memory addresses and referencing that memory address when you ran your program. Now with a higher level language like Java, X stands for the memory location that has been allocated in the background. Now, int isn't the only type of variable. There are others, and it is to suit particular needs. There's a distinction in programming between a floating point or real number and an integer. And in order to store a number with a floating point or a fractional part, you use double as the type. So here we have double x equal 12.35. Additionally, you may want to store a single letter that is stored in the type char or char. And here's an example, char letter equal z. Note the single quotes around the z. That is a character literal. And finally, of all the primitive data types that are available in Java, the Boolean type stores a true and false. So that would be the example, Boolean done equal false. Now, variables can change, hence the name variable. For example, sum is initially declared to 0, and then later on, sum is equal to 4 plus 5 plus 3. Note the value of sum will change to 12, but also the sort of backward nature of the statement. In math, it would perhaps be written the other way. And one would think like that the two are equal in some way. They're not. It's 4 plus 5 plus 3 gets assigned to the value sum. So let's lose the equal sign, except in speech we are going to talk about it as an assignment. Variables can also be used in calculations, and you see an example here. Oops. Double average equals 0, average equals sum divided by 3.0. And in this case, we use sum from above to calculate the average. Note that the average is 4.0. Even though it may be outputted at the screen as 4, you do have to know that it is a double type. Okay, last of all, are rules for naming variables. And what I want to talk about here is that they're case sensitive. If you call it money with all lowercase, it's not the same as any other variable that will have an uppercase letter. Additionally, all variable names must start with a letter. So you have to have a letter in the first character space of a variable name. However, after the first character, you can use any number, like first one, or you can use the $, which I rarely do, or the underscore. So you could use the underscore to give the illusion of space between names. So it would be class underscore average, perhaps, if you wanted to have something that looked more readable. And lastly, you can't use reserved keywords in Java. For example, int and double, as you know, are already used for something in Java, so you can't use them in your variable name. So what I want to do is simply switch to another screen and show you how this works. Okay, so I will go over here and increase it a little bit so you can read it, and just kind of move this out of the way. Here we have a program that declares all three variables, and I'm doing it in the replit environment. Basically everything in between line 2 and line 13, code that's part of the main function, will run when the program starts running. And in it I declare, oops, sorry, hit the mouse, int a equal 5, double b equal 3, char lat equal the letter T, and boolean done equal false. Note in lines 9 through 12 I've used systemout.println to print this down to the screen. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how it runs. Okay, and you can see a bunch of that there. The output is 5, 3.0, T, and false. Print len, as in line, print len, will print the variable a, for example, and then move to the next line. So that's why all the output appears on a separate line. So what I want to do is go back and end this up. So it's me again, and this has been a discussion of variables and how to declare them in a Java program and how to output them to the screen. Along the way, we learned a little bit about the way a variable is declared with a data type, a name, an assignment, and a value. We also learned that there are different types: double, int, boolean, and char, which make up the primitive data types of the Java language. And finally, we also learned how to output them to the console using systemout.println. And now you will have with your teacher a sample problem to work through and to submit. So keep coming, and looking forward to seeing you next time.